Welcome back to Smile Sessions. I'm Christina Perry, and this is the podcast where we talk honestly about the way we lose ourselves by trying to be everything for everyone else and how we begin to come back. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you. My book, How to Start Choosing Yourself Without Guilt or Fear, is finally out in the world. Writing it challenged me in ways I never expected. It forced me to revisit parts of my life that I'd rather forget, question beliefs that I've carried for years, and ultimately confront the places that I disappeared from my own story. Today's episode isn't about selling you a book. It's about starting a conversation. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to take some ideas from the book and explore them more deeply here on the podcast. Think of these episodes as sitting together over coffee, reflecting on the chapters, and asking questions that don't always have easy answers, and hopefully finding pieces of ourselves along the way. Today's question is one that changed my life. When was the first time you disappeared? Not physically, emotionally. The first time you learned it was safer to keep the peace than to tell the truth. The first time someone else's comfort became more important than your own. The first time you realized that being liked felt safer than being real. From the pages of Stop Disappearing, I'd like to share a passage from the opening chapter of my book. This is not a gentle book. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I needed someone to tell me. Directly, honestly, and with full faith that you are strong enough to hear it. I didn't get here through luck or by finally finding the right person. I got here by doing the work on myself first, and by learning slowly and often painfully that a partner is not a requirement. The right partner simply adds to a life you've already built. That is what this book is all about. It is for the women beginning to see the patterns, noticing the signs she was trained to ignore, and wondering if the same ache showing up in different forms might not be bad luck after all, because you are not broken. The fact that you're holding this book tells me you already know that. You don't need to be broken to read this. You don't need to be in a crisis. You just need to be honest with yourself. And you already know. I remember writing those words, and I remember thinking, some people might find them too direct. But then I thought about the woman I used to be. The woman who kept waiting for someone to rescue her. The woman who thought the next relationship would finally heal the emptiness she felt inside. The woman who believed love was something you earned by sacrificing yourself. She didn't need to hear a gentle reminder. She needed someone to lovingly shake her shoulders and say, you don't have to keep living this way. Because here's what I've learned. The problem wasn't that I loved too much. The problem was somewhere along the way, I stopped including myself in the people I was loving. And that's what disappearing really is. It's not losing yourself overnight. It's losing yourself one compromise at a time. One apology you didn't owe. One boundary that you ignored. One intuition you talked yourself out of. One more chance. One more excuse. Until eventually, one day, you wake up and realize you've become an extra in your own life. People-pleasing doesn't come from weakness. It comes from adaptation. Most of us learned it early. Maybe you grew up in a home where emotions felt unpredictable, so you became the easy one, the agreeable one, the one who didn't make things harder. Maybe love felt conditional. Maybe approval felt earned. Maybe you learned that being good meant being quiet, helpful, accommodating. So you became incredibly skilled at reading the room and anticipating needs and smoothing things over before conflict could even begin. And for a while, it worked. You were liked. You were needed. You were praised for being selfless. But what no one tells you is that people-pleasing has a cost. And that cost is you. When you constantly prioritize other people's comfort, you slowly disconnect from your own. You slowly stop asking what you want. You stop trusting your instincts. You start measuring your worth, how useful or agreeable you are to be around. And over time, resentment builds, not because you're unkind, but because you're exhausted. Because you're giving from a place that isn't being replenished. Because you're showing up for everyone else while quietly abandoning yourself. And the hardest part? Most people don't even realize they're doing it because it feels normal. It feels like love. It feels like being a good person. But love that requires you to disappear isn't love. It's survival. I want to invite you to sit with a few questions. You don't have to answer them perfectly, just honestly. When do I feel the strongest urge to keep the peace? Where in my life am I saying yes when I mean no? Who taught me that my needs were less important? What would it look like to include myself in my life again? If you have a moment later today, try this. Write a letter from your present self to the version of you who first learned to people please. Tell her what she didn't know then. Tell her she wasn't wrong for adapting. Tell her she was doing the best she could with what she had. And then gently remind her she doesn't have to live that way anymore. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, if you're recognizing yourself in these patterns, I want you to know this. You are not too much. You're not difficult. You are not selfish for wanting to be considered in your own life. You learn to disappear for a reason, but you can learn to come back. Slowly, gently, one honest moment at a time. You don't have to become someone new. You just have to remember who you were before you started shrinking. And I'm right here as you do. Until next time, I'm Christina Perry, and this has been another session for your soul.